This is the Lambda Cartel episode 4. My name is Pablo Rivera, and with me is Adam Wright, Mitchell Tilbrook, and Scott Nimrod.
Yo.
Hello.
Hello.
Take it away, Scott.
Okay. All right. So there's rumors that it's been like over 30 days since the Lambda Cartel was formed. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. So what's transpired since I reached out to you guys to ask if you're interested in doing some open source work? Like we created Adam created a charter. I pitched this whole notion of Nikeza, and there's some code that's been written. And what else?
I built a website.
Awesome.
No, there's a lot of things going on, like behind the scenes. So first off, I think the biggest thing being, first the charter, which pretty much set the mood for the whole thing. And I think the document that I haven't really changed it because it's just that good. And it just set the mood for everything. And two, Nikeza, really, I don't know how to say this. I forgot the word in English. The problem with knowing multiple languages. Nah, I forgot it too. Let me see if I can say
it in Zulu.
In Klingon or something. No, it's like really ambitious, right? It's a really ambitious project. It started really small, and suddenly, like some of us realized, like, hey, this could be useful, and it's become its own thing inside the cartel. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm actually happy about it because through Nikeza, I think we are growing, and we're learning, and we're seeing a lot of things about each other that we wouldn't have seen otherwise.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
No, I feel that's good, because if you're always seeing the good side of people or the easy to manage side of people, then you're not really seeing the people.
Yeah.
It's finding those rough spots and working them out and giving and saying, and I'm just gonna use someone as an example, saying like Scott is opening a lot of issues that's worrying me because I'm a compulsive issue closer. Mm-hmm. So it pushes me to grow and say, is this really a problem, or is it me just being myself? So it has pushed me to towards growth and empathy and all that. And I actually blogged about it like this past month. The result was me blogging about empathy and patience and pretty much people skills and finding a balance.
Yeah. So one of the some of the reasons that I thought it would be a good idea to connect with you guys, reach out to you guys, is because I'm going to be honest, right? Is I struggle to find employment here in Miami. I struggle to convince gatekeepers of why they should hire me and why I'm driven on results. And so something that I thought would be advantageous is to, bleep a resume, open source everything, open source my personality, in which if people really want to know, my work ethic, if people really want to know, what my focus is, and if I deliver, well, hell, document it, for the public to see. And so that's something that is one of the motivating factors is, well, not only build something cool and learn from others, different techniques, but also try to be in a position where, or if people are insecure or unsure because you don't fit a certain type of profile, you don't behave or look like mainstream, then maybe I should, out there, and instead of always venting or ranting, perhaps I should take advantage of putting a public display of building something and delivering it, and juggling issues, and working with the team to resolve it. And I wanted to also document that you surround me with some of the best developers, then everything's good. I could work with people that are motivated. I could work with people that care. What I don't want to work with are people that are not motivated, but yet they dictate my profession, and I can't stand that. So I'm sorry for being selfish, but that's something that was one of the reasons why I reached out to you guys, because I want to demonstrate that I'm an awesome person to work with. I just want you to be awesome too. Took it in a different direction.
No. So I could do like a quick feedback there, because it's like the 1 month commemoration looking back, right? And looking back, it just, with the facts and just giving you some feedback on that goal of yours, I've definitely seen some growth, because when we started, so Scott and I sometimes talk about specific subjects, like if he has something on his mind, we have I guess a longer relationship where we just talk on the phone or WhatsApp, and he just says, hey, I'm thinking about this, what do you think? And I've seen it's not that I've seen some growth, I've seen a big change, positive change. Not that you were bad before, but I see like an improvement. And the improvement is in listening to other people. Like, it's not that you didn't listen before, but now I guess I would say you are you definitely have more empathy. Like you see where other people are coming from, and if anything happens, you're quick to understand and ask, wait, what did I do wrong? Why did that person respond that way? And I think that's fantastic, and it's great to have out there, because companies not only hire developers, they want to hire people who are leaders, that they can take their standard run-of-the-mill developer and lead them into lower costs and higher rates of delivery. So honest feedback to you, Scott, and I guess kudos, stealing that from .NET Rocks, like kudos to you, or golf clap. But yeah, and it is showing, right? I see that, and with that goal, I see you moving forward. And it's a discovery process. Like, I'm sure, like, I'm blind to my own process, and I hope one day that somebody gives me feedback. But in terms of others, I think you're pretty much crushing it on that, on that side. I just wish you didn't open so many GitHub issues. That's all.
I closed like 8 of them yesterday. Have you checked GitHub?
No, I haven't checked it. I just stopped checking it because I was like, oh my God, another
I closed about 8 of them yesterday. we're at like 21 now. 21 open issues.
25 closed, 22 open.
Yeah. That's a good baiting.
Wait, does that mean someone opened one after Scott checked it last?
Yeah, we're gonna have to change our name to the Issue Cartel.
Yeah.
No, but that's the whole purpose of the group. Like to disrupt, not disrupt, humanity or anything like that, but to disrupt ourselves and to still, as Scott's way of put it, to destroy our belief systems and grow, and I think I know that's definitely happening,
Yo, I'm a junior Elm developer now. Who would have known? So
yeah, I mean, and I just wish, I'm just gonna put this out there. I just wish you weren't so against JavaScript.
Why is that?
You'd make an awesome JavaScript developer, because you don't play into the standard JavaScript story, because you would approach it with immutability, functional first, static typing, or static types. You would approach it the right way, and you would be, if you focus a little bit on JavaScript, I mean, even for a month, with your breadth of experience, you'd be a golden egg in the marketplace.
I would be someone that would still have to play in my own sandbox, because everybody. So, yeah, feel free to cut this thread off, as I divert. But the thing with JavaScript and C# and Java is, like, it doesn't constrain you. So hell's bells, yeah, I would be, doing things the functional way, the best way that I can as of now, But as soon as you put me with a whole bunch of developers that haven't come in contact with those techniques or methodology, then I'm just going to be a Samuel Jackson angry developer, because hey, I'm trying to do things the maintainable way, yet everybody else is still hacking code together. So I don't, for this, I respectfully disagree with you. I think I would probably be okay if I was siloed, but working with teams, my hairline would recede an additional inch per week. So,
I think you'd be very valuable, because in JavaScript right now, the whole ecosystem, it's trying to fix itself, and they're looking towards the functional approach, but they're not really saying it too loud because they don't want to scare people off. And I just think you would kill it. You could kill it by doing a bit of technical evangelism through your blog and through your videos, and people would just eat that up, because you have like so much functional knowledge that it's just it's yeah. Yeah.
One thing I will say is the last 4 weeks since we started this, and me transitioning to Elm, man, that stuff, I can honestly say I think functionally now. I can honestly say that now. Prior to us getting together, collaborating, and actually challenging ourselves to build something useful using functional technologies, I was more of a kind of a hybrid where I wasn't straight, object oriented, paradigm, but now like my first approach, my thought process is always now map, filter, reduce, map, filter, reduce, map, filter, reduce. Like that's the way I think now. And so like I'm feeling good, man. I got a little bit of swag in me now, because I feel like I've crossed over. There's a lot of opportunities for growth and refinement, but
is that? But so I'm at a crossroads, and I'm gonna need Adam's and Mitch's like input here too, because I don't want to cross over. I'm saying it like I don't want to go purely functional. I don't want to think functional first, even though I'm a member of the Lambda Cartel. I want to think in all ways, right? I want to have like this strange approach where I can see the problem and I can solve it in 3 different approaches at the same time, and then just pick whatever works best. Like, what's your guys' take on that?
Personally, I think it like a couple things you guys have been talking about already. It kind of depends on the team, and I think that's Scott's biggest hang up is, is trying to find a good team of people to work with that agree on different things, especially like caring. But in this particular context, I think your team has to agree on kind of an approach if you're going to go functional, and obviously you can do functional stuff in OO languages, even Python. It may not have every single exact construct, but you can think that way, and write pure functions in any language, things like that. So I think it's definitely possible, but I agree with you too. At the same point, is you should choose what makes sense for your particular problem that you're dealing with. That's probably more challenging though. Just figure out when this applies and when it doesn't. The main thing, or one of the biggest things with functional programming is for like concurrency situations and stuff like that. You don't have shared state and those kinds of things. So if you're trying to solve those kinds of problems, then you probably should think functionally. If you don't care, if you're just trying to get something done, a single threaded, who cares? Use OO, right?
Well, so that last part, I'm trying to pioneer the idea of startups. Hence, I think one of the reasons why we're together is so that we can programming as a real paradigm, for lack of a better term, for building professional software, right? And so with that said, I don't know about y'all, but I feel as if we're behaving as a startup when we're building Nikeza. And something that I kind of want to push in order to help grow awareness within the software development industry of functional programming is that FP probably could or should be the default paradigms to use for building software and introducing.
I just disagree with that.
Marketplace. And the reason why I feel so strongly about it is because my understanding of building out a minimal viable product is that you pretty much put it together to put it in front of the market to figure out where you need to pivot, figure out what alterations you need to make, right? With emphasis on hack together. And if whatever you hack together is embraced, well, there's a high probability that they're going to embrace your prototype and encourage or else kind of like put a gun to your head and force you to build on top of that prototype meant to be extendable. And so this is where I think technical debt really gets out of control. when dealing with startups and building these prototypes, because these prototypes aren't necessarily well engineered or built for testability, extensibility. But I think that when you are hacking something together using a functional programming language, well, regardless of how it's hacked together, it's still testable. You can still refactor the hell out of it, and you can still know that it still works. And so that's my argument is, why don't startups consider using functional programming languages with the benefit of it always being testable, even if you test last?
I can answer that. So I disagree with the premise of let's use functional for MVPs at this point, not from a management standpoint, right? From the business case, technically, I wish, right, that they did approach it that way, because you are absolutely right. You know, everything that you said is correct from a technical standpoint, but functional is more expensive. Why? Because you have to hire certain people, and certain people are going to cost more money. And so if you only have $100,000 of runway, of money in the bank to pay for developers, and you're run-of-the-mill OOP, or somebody who doesn't really care about paradigms, we'll do the project for $7,000, but then the functional craftsman, and I'm not saying Scott Nimrod per se, but let's just say somebody who really cares about what they're doing, and it's really focused, and they want to do something amazing and great. It's gonna charge $25,000. Then they're gonna go with the cheaper alternative, right?
I'm not sure. I don't think you're taking into consideration the people that enjoy writing functional code. Like there's
Would you do it for like $20 an hour?
No, I wouldn't do it for $20 an hour, but I would do it for a lower rate compared to what I'm doing now. Why? Because I want to build professional experience for actual customers. So I'm willing to discount my rate. And two, I mean, I think it's a valid argument that if you say, hey, we're looking for some functional programmers, well, these people have already demonstrated that they want to learn. They already demonstrated that they're motivated. Startups need motivated people, okay? Corporate 500 monolithic companies, I'm not sure if they can really demonstrate that they have motivated developers versus people that just follow orders. So
I just think we have very different viewpoints.
Yeah, that's fine.
I've been working with startups since 2010. Like contracting with them, freelancing with them, being an employee at a startup. And my experience has always been, and I haven't been in one of those unicorn startups that they become $1 billion company. My experience has always been, quality is job number 5,000. Like the focus is to build something, whatever, we don't care. I'm using their own words. We don't care how secure, how fast, how anything. It just needs to be pretty, and it just needs to work so that we can sell it. And
working is number 2.
Yeah, exactly. And the times that I've tried to sell something better than that, I've been I haven't closed that sale. And so, it's probably the market that I was working on, and the quality of the client base. But most startups are just some guy or lady or some person that doesn't know anything about tech, has an app idea, and they don't even want to yeah, and they don't want to discuss it with you because they're afraid you might steal it, right? And they want to make you sign a non-disclosure agreement. You know, and it ends up being Facebook for dogs, right? And they want you to build it in 1 week. So, you know, how does Scott's point, in my experience, like, reach a consensus? How do we marry those 2 points? I feel there's a lot of technical evangelism that needs to be done, and honestly, that's one of the parts that I'm looking forward to. You know, for this group, is not only build functional software and build software that it might not be purely functional, but it has a set of, you know, it has a set of standards that we follow, and then we can go on and do some technical evangelism in the form of, you know, like podcasts like this one, and videos, and even meetups and conferences on all that, because the way to disrupt that problem is to attack it through information, you know, like informing people that, yes, there is a better way to do things, and no, you don't really want to use Java for that. You know.
Well, I think everything boils down to identifying the advantages and the challenges. I don't want to say disadvantages. Mitch.
Yes.
Mitch is awfully quiet. Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Are you
on which question? We've covered about 4 topics since I started talking.
so
everything.
Is functional programming a valid approach for a startup?
It's funny. Well, I'd say Jet.com is probably a good example of yes. So they originally were only going to use F# for, I think, like the sales or recommendation or something. I can't remember the exact story. But then as they kept going, they were like finding niceties that they quite liked enjoying. So then eventually the decision was made at some point early on to just start doing all the new stuff in F#. So yeah, I definitely think there are advantages to it. And I do think startups are kind of starting to use it. I do a lot of Android, and in Android, I would say probably at least I hope about 2/3 or more people use RxJava, which is very functional. Like you're basically using an unsafe monad. Like, you know, you can break it at any point, but effectively the observable should satisfy the monad laws as far as I can remember. The original question we're talking about is like, when is it appropriate to use functional stuff? And I guess it really depends on what you're trying to do. I was recently talking to someone who was doing some Haskell compiler coding, and they were saying that they had to, well, they didn't have to, but they found there's one spot, if they introduced mutability, it like increased the compiler speed by about 10 times. And wow. The mutability was localized to the point where it didn't actually affect anything outside of itself. So having everything be purely functional in some ways isn't always the best solution. So it comes back to the like horrible consultancy question. It depends, and it really does depend on what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Yeah. You know, like I'd like to introduce functional in places where there's a lot of repetition, or there's a lot of you know, stupid classes being written. Like if I have 3 abstract classes, you know, 10 interfaces for some very simple functionality, then, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and try and move that to functional, right? And just move away from OOP. But if I need, you know, mutability, and I need to move away from the pure side of things, then I'm going to do that, right?
So, I mean, in response to Mitch, I, I, I I think it's like 0.01% of people that focus on the problem of compilers. And so that's what I think. That's what I think. And, you know, I understand that that's just one example that he shared with us. But I think the majority of us, I think, focus on building line of business applications or business solutions and not, you know, a processor or chip solutions.
Yeah. The complexity of a web request is definitely a lot simpler than, say, you know, trying to resolve the Haskell type system. That's definitely true. So the need for you to have that kind of micro optimization and be able to see the impacts is a lot harder. So yeah, like it's probably valid to have a very functional first approach when designing a line of business app, because for the most part, out of the box, it works quite well.
So I'm dealing with, I need to choose my words carefully. I'm considering helping a potential client with that works in the insurance industry. The system has some major maintenance issues, and so within insurance, there is a lot of conditions for how a policy is generated.
Yeah,
and so I provided like a 2-day consultation, going through their code base, doing static analysis or code analysis, pulling up all these different reports, sharing it with the CEO and saying, well, this is what your code base looks like. You know, this is what Visual Studio thinks. And, you know, it says right here that your quote generator and this payment gateway, you know, they're really, the maintainability index of this is really, really low. And I'm willing to bet that these are probably the major areas of the bugs that are submitted, whether it's by QA or by actual customers. She's like, yeah, it is. And so the reason why I'm saying all this is because when you deal with complicated, or at least what I deem as complicated logic, where there's many conditions that you need to take into account, I think why not take advantage of the compiler support for pattern matching, where it will not build or not compile because you haven't taken into consideration this other case. And so I think, once again, when problems in which I think the majority of business problems, they deal with specific cases or paths based on a context, that for me, I think functional programming and leveraging the compiler to identify missed cases is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for that scenario, insurance company, you know, like the functional approach, you know, it being highly testable and you know, like as a default, it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah,
you know, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Yeah.
The kind of path flow analysis, I would probably argue, is not strictly functional, but it's definitely something that all functional languages tend to have. Well, not all, but a lot of them tend to have the ability to describe finite unions. So you, in plain language, you can define a fixed inheritance length. So you know all the cases in a structure that you have to accept or reject.
Yeah, and if you do have to jump into OOP with F#, you're still within the bounds of the language. You know, you can still say, okay, I'm going to use a little OOP here and document this and explain why. But I feel that's okay. You know, like not like being an extreme functional programmer or an extreme OOP or anything. You know, like knowing when to do one thing or another. I think that's valuable for insurance. I think you should have no issue closing that client because that's like right there, bread and butter for functional. Because you want to have correctness, like you said. I mean, but that's not a startup. So there's a huge difference, and you would have established processes. You would have a support system from the company. They already know what they want. They already know what they need. So you're building against not only a legacy code base and not only like fixing their problems, but you actually have direct access to what it is that they need to have. Whereas a startup, I like
They don't know what they want.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in startups where 1 week, hey, we are an ad company, and the other week are like, hey, for something else. And so you tend to just throw away a lot of code, and the code just it's trash, right? And what you end up doing is documenting the business rules rather than anything else. And so so Adam, you're awfully quiet.
I've been doing all the talking, so I don't think he really had the opportunity to say much.
No, but he's Mitch and Adam, they worry me because
no, they're smart.
I know. It's pretty obvious.
They don't push their ideas on people because they know better.
Oh, yeah.
Based on
that's the biggest problem. No, that's the biggest problem, Scott, and I have. Like we're both like head to head, and that's one of the things I've been working on, like not being that way. But I'm failing because they're not talking.
I've been muzzled as a child, so like I tend to like say a lot now. But yeah.
I don't know, Adam.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to cut those two off. I was going to say, have you done anything with any startups?
Adam?
Oh, I have not.
Oh, okay. Do you have an opinion on if you were making a startup, what you would go with?
Well, I have an opinion about startups, even though I haven't been in the space before, especially the term MVP. I think the point is to get something that people want out the door. So I don't even think that necessarily takes any code, honestly. Just a description or a video or something like that says, hey, this is what we're going to do. Sign up, and then maybe after that, like put a price on it. And then when you actually get people saying, yeah, I'd pay money for that, then you start building it, And so I don't really, at the beginning, I don't think you really need to make that decision. I don't know. That's just my thought. I've never been in any real world scenarios like Pablo. So
no, but that's true.
Yeah. That actually follows pretty close to if you read the Lean Startup book. So that talks a lot about kind of getting the paper prototype out the door. And if people are willing to pay for the paper prototype, they're probably willing to pay for the real thing.
Right. But to Pablo's point, I agree with both of you. I think if you could find, functional developers to build you things really quickly that get the job done, that would be ideal. Of course, if you could pay for it, if you can afford it. But you're going to find a lot more people that, could do like Ruby on Rails or something and build something like in a couple days that would kind of do what you want, maybe .NET or whatever. But I think there's going to be a lot more pool of OOP programmers that can build something really quickly regardless of how good it is. So I think that's probably why that happens. I don't know.
So if it's a good time to change the subject, I want to share something that I've learned when I was writing Elm, is if that's okay with you guys. Or
Fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
Yep.
how do I say this? When doing code katas in F#, I soon learned that when approaching a problem, instead of defining my types first, I define my functions first. And that stuff was working well for me. My writing functions first was basically fleshing out and Odie corrected the GitHub. He said fleshing out, FLESHING, but it basically like fleshed out, you know, the types. Whenever I would focus on writing the functions, it would identify the types that I need ultimately. It's because in OOP, I would do test-driven development religiously whenever someone's paying me professionally, you know. However, I'm starting to consider in Elm that I've been spending more time than I would like to, you know. I've been spending a lot of time going back and forth and fixing things that used to work, and then returning because it broke again, and then fixing it again because I don't really have any tests. I have one unit test. And so, to make long story short, where writing like kind of server-side logic, I don't think TDD is absolutely necessary based on my where I'm at within my development of building software. I'm raising the argument, at least for myself, that when writing functional code that deals with a user interface, I think that just like when I do MVVM work, I think it's a good idea for me to start doing TDD again, because this is starting to get annoying where I'm exercising the UI and something that I fixed no longer works again. And I'm spending a lot of time. I don't know if you looked at the home.elm file, but it's getting really, really big. So
Yeah.
what are people's thoughts on TDD and functional programming? Have you guys ran into anything similar based on your work on the Keza?
That's still to do for me. I need to look into both F# and maybe Hedgehog, which are what do you call them, property-based testing, and work out how I can then test the current F# code I have, and also maybe refactor it a bit so it's a bit more testable. But yeah,
use OOP F#, or you did
Sorry?
FP? I thought you were doing the functional part of F# and not the OOP.
well, I have to use the C# library, so like there's always a degree of uncertainty.
Okay.
Yeah, so just for context, so I wrote the YouTube API integration in F#, and occasionally when testing it in the command line, I would occasionally, like, if you give it like the wrong type of information, it would complain and crash. So it's not perfect. And whenever you're interoping with C# packages, there's no guarantee that the type you get back isn't some nullable type. Because as far as I understand, there's no, unless someone can correct me, there's no way to kind of hint at the compiler that something is nullable for reference type yet. So there's no way to have F# kind of automatically go, yeah, that should be an optional. So if I do call functions and they return unexpected values, then yeah. And the YouTube API also returns everything in lists, and half the time you only want the head. So
yeah, it's Google APIs. They're a beauty.
Yeah, we should go complain to John Skate and be like, hey, you gonna fix this?
Oh, I've already complained to Google engineers twice face to face. Don't worry.
Not advocating harassing Google engineers here.
No, complaining to them is not harassing. You know, the big difference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't harass them. I just make fun of them of their jobs. But that's why I'm never gonna be hired at Google.
Am I missing some kind of Americanism or something?
Yeah, I just have this. So Scott, I know Scott is going crazy right now because I changed the subject, but really quickly, like, you know, like you have to go to MIT or Harvard or any of these top, colleges. You have to pass this ridiculously hard interview process, which is then met by, a committee decides if you're hired or not. You know, that's pretty insane. And then they make you work on YouTube comments. so so thank you, but no thank you. Right, like most Googlers just work on really insanely boring and just sometimes stupid problems. So I don't really want to work there. So giving some feedback to Scott, yes, the front end definitely needs some test driven development, because your Elm follows the MVC structure. Elm is like a replacement for Angular in a way. It's like a DSL for front end development, and you definitely need some tests, and you really need to think about also dependency injections, and when you're dealing with presentation. One thing I noticed, so I made a pull request to introduce the Bootstrap framework to Nikesa, because it just makes the whole thing simpler, right? And then I started to research using Bootstrap with Elm, and we pretty much have to write a lot of code. And I'm like,
I saw the same thing like 3 months ago. No, it wasn't 3 months ago. It was about a month ago. I saw the same thing where I was looking into Bootstrap, and I'm like, oh God, I don't understand web development. I certainly don't understand what this code I'm looking at. So,
Wait, why do you need to write code for Bootstrap? So do you mean for like the JavaScript components of Bootstrap?
No, for the styling. So if you want to use, so here's what I've done, and it's probably due to my stupidity, right? So I said I'm gonna take the login form and I'm going to try and style it using Bootstrap classes. So I set up the form tag. I try to start passing classes and this and that, but it's not working. And so for some reason, and I really haven't looked into it because I just quit in rage, I can't introduce the form tag, the HTML form tag, to that specific piece of code and then have it render.
Bootstrap is for mobile anyway, right? Or no?
No, it's just a CSS framework and some jQuery extensions.
Okay.
Yeah, so it pretty much gives you a standard CSS approach, and some it gives you jQuery included, and gives you some niceties, right? Because CSS it's just stupid at this point. So I saw that and I said, okay, I'm going to either end up rewriting some of the front end code, which I really don't want to, because then that means that we have to reduce our speed, or I have to talk with Scott and figure out how to do that, or I'm going to have to hack this in some way, or just, I don't know. Like at this point, I'm just thinking. I'm not sure, because it just shows that I think that's a kink in Elm, right? If I can't introduce a CSS framework without having to do a lot of rewriting or having to use some other library, because there are packages, there are Elm packages that specifically introduce Bootstrap through Elm, and they give you types and they give you functions, all that. And I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm going to introduce a CSS framework through functional code, then that's kind of a code smell for me. I don't know, it's weird. And so point is that the code we currently have right now since it's being done as a startup approach, right? To just get the thing going and see if this is something that that people will actually use, that it's useful. I think it's not as flexible as it should be. So we're probably gonna end up rewriting that, and that's what I don't want to do right now.
Man up.
So,
what do you mean, man up? Wait. I'm sorry. No. I'm not gonna rewrite all that
unless Scott responds.
No.
Unless Scott responds, is the library that you were looking at, was that the Elm Bootstrap one that you were referring to? Yeah. So it looks like the way Elm kind of looks to me is a bit similar to React, where you there's a lot of kind of custom components. Instead of doing divs and spans and all the stuff that you would do with normal HTML, you end up creating functions which then spit out a pre-structured kind of almost like web component like thing.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of where the zeitgeist is moving in terms of web development, which is to think of these not so like divs are kind of individual components which you then use to create more complex components, which then have domain specific names. So in this case, the Elm Bootstrap one has a grid container which contains rows and columns. We could probably look at after we do this, sit down and kind of do like a screen share and go through the Elm Bootstrap stuff, because the class parameter, you should just be able to pass a list of strings to the Elm elements, which they will then use as the class tag.
I did that, and I successfully added a parameter to that. That was like, that made me feel awesome. But true,
yeah.
The point you're making, which is absolutely brilliant, is that yes, it is an approach based on components, and Nikesa, the current approach to Nikesa is not. It's not. So it's not component based, at least in the way that in the Elm idiomatic approach, right?
Yeah.
So when Scott says, man up, what he better mean is that I should take that code and change it to component, to components based on components.
I think the Elm way they tend to refer to them as modules, because it's I think that in the Elm community, at least every time I watch like presentations, they get upset when you call them components, because they're not components, they're functions.
They get upset.
It's I don't know, it's this kind of semantic difference that to me is not as important, because component function, like the way in which you're using them is kind of interchangeable. But I'm still learning Elm, so if there's more experienced person out there who wants to have a fight over that, we can talk to them.
No, but now I know what to. I'm gonna tweet that with the Elm hashtag. BC rating a lot of components. #Elm #bite me. No.
That's it's a good way to get answers, is to tweet something that is incorrect and that people get angry about, because then they'll come back with suggestions.
See, like Scott said, man up. I'm just gonna print a poster that says "man up."
It's already out.
Yeah. No, but my version is not. Believe me.
It just says Elm Up.
Oh my God, that's.
And we're ending this podcast.
No. I want to hear Adam, because Adam. So Scott, I think.
And we just lost the last 10 seconds, or I lost the last 10 seconds.
Me too. Yeah.
I think I broke him.
So
you got to rewind 10 seconds, Pablo. We lost you. Again, we lost them. Yo.
Oh man, it is really Elm Up.
Right. Approach from
Pablo.
more.
Pablo.
Yeah. What's up?
You need to rewind 15 seconds.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. My internet gets tired of my voice.
Tell it to man up.
Man up. Okay. No, but so point being, what I'm trying to say, if the internet will let me, is that the current code base, it just shows that since we're learning Elm as we go, we're just discovering that we need to take this module-based approach and think about the styling and the UI at the same time that we build the whole thing, because Elm is, you know, pretty much a DSL for the front end. And you know, the first approach was, let's build this, let's learn Elm without taking other things into account. But if we want to produce something that's you know, nice to look at and feels it gives a good user experience, then I think we're gonna have to use those modules and do it that way.
Well, why do we need to bring that in at the very beginning instead of reserving the option to
Because it looks like crap. It just looks like crap.
Yeah, but it could look like crap because it's not public facing.
No, but
I'm okay with that.
But the user experience is as much as part as the rest. So if you don't if you don't bake in the user experience from the start, then you're gonna be doing hacks around it afterwards.
Well, I beg to differ, because I believe that you can be focused very early on the UX, and then as more information trickles down, you're going to be not only be refactoring the domain logic, but you're going to be reconsidering the user experience as well, and that's time wasted. And so I'd rather defer the details of the UI and nail down the domain logic, and then when I feel like, you know, some things are solidified, some things are stable, all right, well, let me add some UI, some styling to it, now that I have a good picture of where we're at. I lean more on focusing on nailing down domain logic than having something pretty from the very get-go.
So you mean that you're gonna man up and join me in, you know, in Den doing the UX and the UI?
Yeah.
All right, he said it. Yeah.
We're a team.
I just needed to say man up to you. I couldn't just stay with that. So Adam, backend, you're doing some backend stuff too. What's your take on the whole TDD and what you're doing back there? Like, what's up with that?
Oh, well, I wish I was doing TDD because I'm having a few issues. I'm just trying to learn how Giraffe works. It looks pretty darn cool. But I've got some like login and registration, that kind of thing going right now.
Did you push the code to GitHub?
I have some of it on my own
Fork,
yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't done a pull request yet for that. I just kind of wanted to. There's a few other things I want to figure out, like HTTP status codes and things like that. It looks a little bit confusing, so. Not that matters. I mean, we could probably just go with what I got for now, but all you really need to do is log in and know that you're logged in, right? So, and be able to, then we can work on associating content with users and stuff like that. So I guess we could probably just move on from where I have right now. But so far it's pretty awesome. It's really Giraffe is very lightweight to get things done. Odie did a pretty good job. I mean, he got it set up and running and everything. And
he published a YouTube video yesterday.
Yeah, I need to watch that. I actually have it queued up here, but because I honestly having some issues with VS Code debugging. I can get the app to run, but I can't get it to debug. So hopefully that's in his video.
I can't get Elm to debug either.
Welcome to the web.
Yeah. And, just use a VS Code. Didn't even want to think about Visual Studio for this kind of stuff because it seems like that would be more challenge. But I don't know.
Yeah, it is part of the challenge, like having to learn all these new tools and ecosystems. It's like we're all in the same boat. We're like learning new everything, and so we all have different issues. And then when we talk, we're like, this is driving me crazy, and then somebody else says, this is driving me crazy, and so it's like we're showing the world how software is actually developed, which is everybody's going crazy at any given moment in time.
Oh yeah.
It's not like pure. It's not beautiful. The process of developing software is not beautiful or even majestic. It's chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
It's very chaotic. So we're almost out of time. Anybody want to add a closing statement? And I'm making it this time optional so that Scott, doesn't feel the pressure. So Scott, any closing statements? Are you gonna man up?
Well, to reiterate, I think we've completed a month of exchanging ideas,
and we haven't blown up, which was my biggest fear.
Not just exchanging ideas, but actually from imagination to implementation. And I think it's been really cool. And I'm really enjoying the journey, and I'm really proud to be learning and working with you guys. It's a breath of fresh air to work with or pushing themselves to share. So
yeah. So closing statement for Mitch.
I'm
gonna do that to everyone, so expect it.
Yeah, okay. Closing statement. Yeah, no, it's been pretty interesting. Like I've been a bit busy, so I've only been able to contribute a few things. But yeah, it's been good to kind of get some little F# kind of side projects kind of out there into the web. So I've got the YouTube thing. I was looking at the Stack Overflow tag stuff earlier today, so
that would be huge.
It's a really simple API. So I was even contemplating maybe just using like Reason, which is no camel language, just because I can, and I can just use like a HTTP REST client. So yeah, that's what I might be looking at next, is using Reason for some simple things.
And Adam, closing statement.
I think this has been a lot of fun. I've never really been involved in a real open source project, so I think having this experience is really good, and working with people that I think are pretty awesome. Especially, I think what's really cool about that is the power of Twitter. Like, we found each other online and kind of started this thing together, and I never imagined that I would be a part of something like that. So I really think that's the coolest thing. Also, learning new technologies and making time to do that has been great. So I love it.
All right. So my closing statement is, we made it to a month, which is 1 month longer than I thought this would last. I thought this would blow up immediately. Not because I lacked any faith in any of the members, but it is a pretty steep, order, or a pretty tall order to bring people from all over the world who don't really know each other, who have a lot of cultural differences, and we have to explain like things we say, sometimes phrases, because it sounds weird to them, or they lack context. So the fact that we're here 1 month later, there's code written, there's things moving. There's this podcast, there's videos, and other members are now starting to produce more content, and they're feeling like more confident on where we're going. I just think it's pure magic, and I'm just happy and proud to be part of this, and to be able to call myself a member of this, and just get to spend time with you guys, even if we at a lot of times we disagree, because if we all agreed, then this wouldn't be a growth opportunity. It's in the disagreeing that we're able to explore new options and learn new ideas. So even if this doesn't last another month, I hope it does. I think it's been more than worth my time, because like Adam said, we met on Twitter, and I just learned so much, like from I mean, it's just crazy. And hopefully, and we're also sending a message of diversity, a message of you don't really need to fit a certain stereotype to be a programmer / developer / engineer. Like, you can be different, you can have a group of different people, and it's gonna work, right? Like, you don't need to have a cookie cutter team. You can have different people, and things are gonna work out, which I think is very important and something that we need in the industry. And with that in mind, I want to thank everybody for listening in. I want to thank all of you for taking the time, for waking up early or for staying up late at night, and have this is the best episode yet. I have to say that. It's obligatory. I always say that. And so thanks everybody. Thank you for listening. This has been the Lambda Cartel. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Deuces.
Jana.